What if I told you that you could be the greatest if you follow the 10,000-hour rule?
No! I don't have time.
I'm aware that it sounds like a lot of extra hours, but it only takes 45 minutes a day to be at the peak of the skill you desire. You can even take a break for a day or two, but you gotta almost practice every day.
Good morning, New Yorkers. Looking for another beautiful day here in the city.
Practice isn't the thing you do once you're good, it's the thing you do that makes you good. It's a quote from the book Outliers, The Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell. You've probably heard of the 10,000-hour rule, which was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell with this book. He makes numerous references to the 10,000-hour rule in his book, explaining that the secret to becoming a master in any field is simply to work most efficiently for at least 10,000 hours. He points out in his book that it took nearly 10 years of practice for anyone to become a master of their domain, such as Michael Jackson, Sachin Tendulkar, Beethoven, the Beatles, and many other brilliant people. Also, 76 classical composers were studied by John Hayes, who found that in most cases these composers were at their best after 10 years of practice. Let's look at the story of Sachin Tendulkar, or the god of cricket as they call him. At the age of 5, he started playing tennis ball cricket with his colony friends, which sparked his interest in the game. Then Sachin's natural swing of the bat caught the attention of his older brother. So at the age of 11, his brother enrolled him in cricket lessons. After 5 years, when he was 16 years old, he became a member of the Indian cricket team. His skill improved as he practiced for 5 to 6 hours daily for more than 250 days a year. He earned a Master Blaster and Genius tags after demonstrating consistent performances for 3 to 4 years. You may think that you're not talented enough, you're not smart enough, or just not enough. But I think it's more about persistence than talent. I mean, of course, talent and intelligence have a big role, but if you don't do something consistently, then what's the good of having a talent or being smart?
I'm sorry, but I mean every word. I mean every word.
There were wonderful, great, and really successful people in history with an average IQ or higher, like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and Stephen Hawking. They made the world a better place, no doubt. And your IQ could be higher than Einstein's, but if you don't work on something, then what will the outcome be? Like Chris Langan, his IQ is around 195 and 210. He's incredibly smart. In 1999, he was described by some journalists as the smartest man in the world. However, he has not made any notable lifetime accomplishments. So you don't have to be Einstein or Beethoven to achieve your dreams. Even Einstein himself failed and said that it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with the problems longer. Which means the more time you spend on something, the better you will get at it. So you could have that intelligence and talent and choose not to do anything with it. It's all up to you. I'm gonna give you an example of the effect of persistence on success. Sir James Dyson invented the dual cyclone bagless vacuum cleaner. Was the process easy for him? Absolutely not.
And there were, honestly, every day there was a development and then a failure and a development and a failure.
I'd be able to do about one test like that a day after day, month after month, as it turned out, year after year.
He spent 15 years to create his dream. He says, I made 5,127 prototypes of my vacuum before I got it right. There were 5,126 failures.
If you always do what you know is going to work, then okay, you'll have less failure, but you'll never make a substantive change or a breakthrough.
In return for his persistence, the Dyson brand became the best-selling bagless vacuum brand in the United States. I think his effort was worth it. So it is not just talent, it is persistence. Because by saying success requires 10,000 hours of practice, as well as innate talent and intelligence, they imply the importance of the continuity of what you are working on. And the list goes on. If these wonderful people had given up in the first place, they would have gone to the grave with their great ideas. Like any other buried, given up ideas, unfortunately. But they chose to succeed by working on it without giving up, and by showing persistence. But not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. There's no such thing as every person who works 10,000 hours in some field will be successful, but every successful person has spent at least 10,000 hours in the field which they have succeeded. If you want to know the method to practice efficiently for 10,000 hours, there are 4 steps on how to practice or learn anything from scratch efficiently and rapidly by Josh Kaufman.
If you put 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice into that thing, you will be astounded at how good you are. 20 hours is doable. That's about 45 minutes a day for about a month, even skipping a couple days here and there.
The first step is to deconstruct the skill. First of all, you have to decide what skill you want to have. And we all know that when we set goals for the future, like 2 days later or even 5 seconds later, we start to feel anxious. We start to feel overwhelmed by that. Because in our heads, that goal seems complicated and intimidating. We don't know where to start from. As a result of that, we end up feeling paralyzed. To prevent the situation to master a skill, we need to break it down into smaller and manageable pieces so that we can see what to focus on and which path to follow in the process.
What are the parts of the skill that will actually help me get to what I want? And then you can practice those first. And if you practice the most important things first, you'll be able to improve your performance in the least amount of time possible.
The second step, the main goal is here to learn just enough to be able to self-correct. Get 3 to 5 resources about what it is you're trying to learn. Could be books, could be videos, could be courses, could be anything. But don't use the tools you're learning from as a way to escape or procrastinate on practice. Don't do it like, I'm gonna start after finishing 10 lesson videos on YouTube. Learn just enough that you can actually practice and self-correct or self-edit as you practice.
So the learning becomes a way of getting better at noticing when you're making a mistake and then doing something a little different.
And the third one is to remove practice barriers. You may think of it as something physical, but it is not. Because according to Josh Kaufman, the major barrier is not intellectual, it's emotional. Besides all the obstacles that limit your work, like watching TV or scrolling through social media until it turns you into a zombie, or just too much social life. These could count as the distraction barriers we know.
Use just a little bit of willpower to remove the distractions that are keeping you from practicing, the more likely you are to actually sit down and practice.
The fourth one is to practice for at least 20 hours. He says, most skills have a frustration barrier, the grossly incompetent and knowing part. We don't like feeling stupid, and feeling stupid prevents us from practicing.
In the beginning of learning anything new, you feel really stupid. So the major barrier is not intellectual, it's emotional. But put 20 hours into anything. What do you want to learn? What turns you on? What lights you up? Go out and do that thing. It only takes 20 hours. Have fun.
So by pre-committing to practicing whatever it is that you want to do for at least 20 hours, you will be able to overcome the initial frustration barrier and stick with the practice long enough to actually reap the rewards. I want to share something else with you guys. While reading Origin by Dan Brown, one of my favorite books and my favorite author, while reading this book, one paragraph caught my attention. It was about an AI and its creator. There was a conversation between them, and I found it pretty interesting to share with you. It pinpoints the single greatest strength of computers. Computers are infinitely persistent. Computers can fail billions of times with no trace of frustration. Computers embark upon their billionth attempt at solving a problem with the same energy as their first. Humans cannot do that. Just imagine what all of us could do if we didn't feel frustrated at our first failures. What makes you feel alive? What makes you grateful to be alive? Find the purpose in your life. All it takes 45 minutes a day for a month to achieve anything you want. And don't let your ideas, intelligence, and potential be buried with you. Just give it a shot. Oh, maybe the first step you take could create the butterfly effect in your life. And remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Thank you for watching my video. See you in the next one.
And however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you don't just give up. While there's life, there is hope. So remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet.
Please, sa barakaray, whatever.